Okay, so AI. Right. Everybody's talking about it, wondering about it, maybe even a little freaked out by it.
Yeah, and for good reason. I mean, it feels like we're living in a science fiction novel these days. Every day you wake up and there's a new headline, a new breakthrough.
Totally. And it's not just the tech itself. It's like, what does it all mean? What does it mean for our jobs, our relationships, for like the future of humanity?
Yeah, no doubt. Big questions, and we're only just starting to grapple with them.
Exactly. So that's why we're doing this deep dive, right? We're
Yeah.
wading into the wild world of AI, trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, I like to think of it as we're all just trying to figure this out together in real time.
And speaking of figuring things out, remember back in August when the EU kind of dropped that AI Act bomb?
Oh, yeah, how could we forget? That was
For
huge.
sure. So for our listeners who might not be totally up on all the legal jargon, what's the deal with that? Why should we even care?
Right, so the EU AI Act. Basically, it's the first major attempt to regulate AI on a global scale.
So they're like putting up some guardrails, right? Saying, hold on, this AI thing is powerful. Maybe we should have some rules.
Exactly. Think about it. You've got AI being used for everything these days, from like, recommending your next favorite song to like diagnosing diseases.
Which is kind of amazing when you think about it, but also kind of scary, right?
Totally. So the EU is saying, okay, for low risk AI, like spam filters or whatever, no problem, have at it. But when it comes to the high stakes stuff, think healthcare, transportation, education.
Keep saying, whoa, 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 hold your horses. We need to make sure this is being used responsibly.
Exactly. And that's where the AI Act comes in. It's all about setting standards, mandating things like risk assessments and human oversight. They want to make sure that AI is being used ethically and that it's not going to like turn into some dystopian nightmare.
Because that's what keeps some people up at night, right? That whole like robots taking over the world scenario.
Yeah, for sure. But the EU is trying to strike a balance. They want to encourage innovation while also making sure that AI benefits humanity, not the other way around.
Which makes total sense, right? You don't want to stifle progress, but you also don't want to just let things run wild.
That's the sweet spot they're aiming for.
And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, right? Because
Right.
this isn't just a European thing.
Right, exactly. This is global.
Yeah, because if you're a company, even if you're not based in Europe, but you're doing business there, guess what? You got to play by their rules.
Exactly. Which means the EU AI Act could end up setting a precedent for other countries, other regions.
So, like, the whole world is watching.
Exactly. And I think that's a good thing because we need to have these conversations on a global scale.
Yeah.
AI doesn't respect borders. What one country does with AI will inevitably impact others.
So true. It's like that butterfly effect thing.
Right. One little change can have ripple effects all over the place.
And speaking of ripple effects, let's talk about how this AI revolution is playing out in the political arena. Because things are getting kind of wild there, too. Right?
Oh, yeah. Elections, political campaigns, disinformation. AI is right in the thick of it.
That's kind of like the perfect storm, in a way.
How so?
Well, you've got this incredibly powerful technology, AI, that can be used for good or for evil, right?
For sure.
And then you've got this, like, hyper-partisan political climate where
Right.
people are already distrustful of, like, everything and everyone.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
So you put those two things together, and it's like, what could possibly go wrong?
It's a recipe for, well, let's just say it's a lot to unpack.
That it is. But we've got to start somewhere, right? So where do we even begin with this whole AI and politics thing?
Well, on one hand, you have some potentially really positive applications, like using AI to, say, combat voter suppression.
Right, like making sure everyone who's eligible to vote can actually vote.
Exactly. Or using AI to make elections more secure to prevent fraud.
Okay, so those are some positives. But what about the flip side? What should people be concerned about?
Well, we have to talk about deepfakes. I mean, that's the big one that's on everyone's mind these days.
Because it's terrifying. Right. I mean, imagine a world where you can't believe your own eyes and ears, where videos can be completely faked and manipulated.
It's not science fiction anymore. It's real. It's happening right now. And it's only going to get more sophisticated, more difficult to detect.
And we're already seeing it in this election cycle, right?
Oh, absolutely. There have been cases of deepfakes being used to try and discredit candidates, to spread misinformation.
Which is scary, because if you can't trust what you see and hear, how do you even know what to believe?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's a question we're all going to have to grapple with as AI becomes more ubiquitous, more ingrained in our lives.
And it's not just deepfakes, right? Like you were saying earlier, AI is being used for everything in politics these days.
Yeah, from targeting voters with personalized ads to analyzing social media sentiment to even writing speeches.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is, and a little bit overwhelming, to be honest,
Totally.
because it raises all these questions about, like, what does it even mean to have a free and fair election in the age of AI? What does it mean for democracy itself?
Yeah, those are some really big, really important questions.
Questions that we're all going to have to answer together.
It's a lot to think about, for sure. And it's not just happening in the political sphere, right? This whole AI thing is shaking up the business world, too.
Oh, yeah, big time. It's like every industry on the planet is trying to figure out how to, like, AI-ify themselves.
Yeah, because they see the potential, right?
Yeah.
AI can do things faster, cheaper, more efficiently than humans in a lot of cases.
Exactly. We're talking about automation, data analysis, personalized marketing, you name it.
It's like AI is the new gold rush or something.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to stake their claim.
And you've got companies pouring billions of dollars into AI research and development.
Which makes sense from a business perspective, right? If you can create the next big AI breakthrough, you're talking about a massive competitive advantage.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing, and this is where things get really interesting from, I think, an ethical standpoint.
Okay, lay it on me. What's the ethical dilemma here?
Well, you've got this tension between, on the one hand, this drive for innovation, for secrecy, for protecting intellectual property.
Right, because these companies, they're all about, like, this is our secret sauce. This is what sets us apart.
Exactly. But then on the other hand, you've got this growing movement within the tech community and beyond, really, that's pushing for more transparency, more collaboration, more open source development.
Okay, so remind me again how that works, the whole open source thing.
Right. So with open source AI, the code, the algorithms, they're all out there in the open. Anyone can access them, modify them, use them.
So it's like the opposite of a trade secret. It's like putting your recipe up on a billboard.
Kind of, yeah. And the argument for open source AI is that it leads to faster innovation because more people are working on it, more eyes are on the code, more people can contribute their ideas.
And it also, I imagine, makes it harder for one company to, like, monopolize the technology, right?
Exactly. It levels the playing field in a way. And it also allows for more scrutiny, more accountability. If everyone can see the code, it's harder to hide bias, to hide backdoors, to hide, like, malicious intent.
Which is something people are definitely worried about, right? Like, what if AI gets used for bad stuff?
Oh, for sure. And that's a whole other conversation we could have. But the point is, with open source AI, at least theoretically, you've got more people watching, more people able to raise red flags if something seems off.
So it's like a checks and balances kind of thing.
Exactly. But of course, there are downsides too. Like, some companies worry that if they open source their AI, their competitors will just steal their ideas.
Yeah, and then there's the whole, like, what if someone uses open source AI to do something bad? Who's responsible then?
Right. There are definitely some thorny issues to work through. But I think the bigger point here is that this debate about open source AI, it's not just a technical debate, it's a philosophical one.
It's about values,
Yeah.
right? Like, what kind of world do we want to live in? A world where a handful of powerful companies control the most powerful technologies?
Yeah.
Or a world where knowledge is more democratized, more accessible?
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that this conversation isn't just happening in, like, academic journals or tech conferences. It's happening everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, it seems like everyone's got an opinion on AI these days. Like, you scroll through social media and it's like, AI is going to save the world, AI is going to destroy the world, AI is going to take my job.
It's everywhere you look. And that's actually kind of encouraging, I think,
How so?
because it means people are engaged. They're thinking about these issues. They're having conversations. And that's what we need more of.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, it can feel overwhelming. Where do we even go from here?
Right. It's like, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around all this?
Exactly. So for, like, the average person who's not a tech expert, who's not, like, knee-deep in algorithms all day, what advice would you give? How do we make sense of the AI revolution?
Well, first of all, I'd say don't panic. It's easy to get caught up in all the hype, all the doomsday scenarios, but...
Right, like the robots are coming to take our jobs and steal our identities. And,
Exactly. But the reality is AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
So it's not really about the AI itself, it's about how we choose to use it.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for everyone to be informed, to be aware of the potential benefits and risks of this technology.
Okay, so information is key.
Mm-hmm.
But then what? what can we actually do? Like, how do we make sure AI is used for good?
Well, for starters, we need to be having these conversations like the one we're having right now.
Right, because if we don't talk about it, who will?
Exactly. And we need to be asking tough questions of our leaders, of tech companies, of anyone who's developing or using AI.
Like, what are your goals? What are the potential consequences of this technology? How are you going to address those?
Exactly. We need to hold them accountable.
Hmm.
And we need to make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that aligns with our values, with our ethics.
So it's not just a tech issue, it's a human issue.
100%. This is about all of us.
Yeah.
It's about the kind of future we want to create.
And it's not just up to the experts, it's up to all of us to shape that future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think we've given our listeners a lot to chew on for one deep dive.
A lot to process, that's for sure, but hopefully also some hope.
Right, because this isn't the end of the conversation, it's just the beginning.
Exactly. And the more informed we are, the more engaged we are, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
Couldn't agree more.
Mm.
So, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. Keep asking those tough questions, stay curious, and let's build the future we want to see.